The alarm bells rang across Mining Station Epsilon 7 like the sound of death itself. Jake Morrison dropped his coffee cup and ran to the control room windows. What he saw made his blood freeze. Massive black ships filled the sky above their small mining colony. The ships were huge, bigger than anything humans had ever built. They looked like giant beetles made of dark metal and glowing lights. "Get everyone to the shelters now," Jake shouted to his team. He was the station captain, and these people trusted him to keep them safe. But looking at those alien ships, he knew they were all in terrible danger. Amy Chun was working on ship designs in the engineering bay when the attack began. She heard the explosions outside and felt the whole station shake. Amy was one of the best shipbuilders in human space. She could fix anything and build better weapons than most military engineers. But right now, none of that mattered. Right now, she just wanted to live. The first alien blast hit the power station. All the lights went out, and emergency power kicked in with a red glow. Pete Rodriguez grabbed his plasma rifle and ran toward the main entrance. Pete knew weapons better than anyone on the station. He had fought in 3 different wars and never lost a battle. But when he saw the alien soldiers coming through the smoke, he knew this would be different. The aliens were tall and thin, like giant insects walking on 2 legs. Their skin looked like green glass, and their eyes glowed yellow in the darkness. They carried weapons that hummed with energy. When they fired, the plasma beams cut through metal walls like they were made of paper. Lisa Hayes was in the security office when the attack started. She was the head of colony defense, and she had 20 good soldiers under her command. Lisa grabbed her rifle and started giving orders through her radio. "All units to defensive positions. This is not a drill. We are under attack by unknown hostile forces." But her 20 soldiers were not enough. The aliens had hundreds of troops, and their weapons were far better than anything humans had. Lisa watched her men fall one by one. Their plasma rifles barely scratched the alien armor, while the alien weapons turned her soldiers into ash. With single shots, Jake tried to reach the communication center to call for help. He crawled through the maintenance tunnels while explosions shook the station above him. If he could send a message to Earth, maybe the military could send ships to save them. But when he reached the communication room, he found it destroyed. The aliens had hit it first. Amy was trapped in the engineering section with 5 other workers. They could hear the aliens moving through the station, their metal feet making clicking sounds on the floor. Amy looked at the others and whispered, "Stay quiet. Maybe they will not find us here." But the aliens had scanners that could detect human body heat. Within minutes, the green glass soldiers burst through the door. They pointed their humming weapons at the humans and made harsh sounds that might have been words. Amy raised her hands and tried to look harmless. The aliens seemed to study them for a moment, then one of them spoke in broken human language. "You will come. No fighting. Fighting means death." Pete had barricaded himself in the weapons storage room with 3 other security guards. They had enough firepower to fight off a small army of humans. But these were not humans, and their weapons did not work the same way. When Pete fired his best plasma cannon at the aliens, the beam just bounced off their energy shields. The aliens did not even seem angry. They just walked forward through the weapons fire like it was rain. One of them raised its weapon and fired. Once, the blast hit the wall next to Pete and turned the metal into glowing liquid. The message was clear: surrender or die. Lisa made her last stand in the command center. She had gathered the remaining colonists there, about 50 people including children and old folks. When the aliens broke through the final door, Lisa stepped in front of her people with her rifle ready. "You want them, you go through me first," she said. The alien commander was taller than the others, with gold marks on its glass-like skin. It looked at Lisa for a long moment, then made sounds that its translation device turned into words: brave, but stupid. Your weapons cannot hurt us. Your people will serve the Empire now. Resistance brings only death. Lisa looked at her rifle, then at the 50 scared faces behind her. She had seen what the alien weapons could do. If she fought, they would all die in seconds. Slowly, she put her weapon on the ground. The aliens herded all the survivors into the main cargo bay. Jake counted heads and felt sick. Out of 300 people on the station, only 62 were still alive. The aliens had killed anyone who fought back and anyone who tried to run. The alien commander stood before them and spoke through its translation device. Your species is weak but useful. You will work in the mining worlds of the Empire. Work hard and live, fight and die. This is the way. Amy looked around at the other survivors. She saw Jake, Pete, Lisa, and many others she had known for years. They all looked defeated and scared. But Amy was thinking about the alien ships she had seen. She was thinking about their weapons and their technology. The aliens thought humans were just weak creatures good only for digging in mines. Amy smiled to herself in the darkness. The aliens were about to learn that they had made a very big mistake. Large transport ships landed outside the station. The aliens forced the humans to walk aboard at gunpoint. The ships were cold and smelled like metal and strange chemicals. They put the humans in small cages, barely big enough to lie down in. As the ships lifted off from Epsilon 7, Jake looked through a small window at his burning home. The mining station was completely destroyed. Everything they had built was gone. But he was still alive, and so were 61 other humans. As long as they lived, there was hope. The alien ships jumped into hyperspace, carrying their human prisoners toward an unknown fate. None of the aliens bothered to search the humans very carefully. They did not take away Amy's engineering tools or Pete's hidden knife. They did not check Lisa's military training records or Jake's command experience. The aliens saw humans as primitive animals. They thought human technology was simple and human intelligence was low. This would be their greatest mistake, because while the aliens were congratulating themselves on an easy victory, the humans were already planning their revenge. The alien prison world was a nightmare of red rock and poisonous air. Kepler 442b had 2 suns that burned down on the prisoners every day. The humans had to wear breathing masks because the air would kill them in minutes. The gravity was stronger than Earth, making every step feel like carrying a heavy load. Jake Morrison stood in the mine entrance at dawn, watching the other prisoners get ready for another day of hell. 6 months had passed since their capture, and the aliens had worked them like machines. They dug for crystals deep in the planet's core. The crystals powered alien technology, and the aliens wanted more every day. "Move faster, human animals," shouted the alien guard. His name was Zexthel, and he enjoyed hurting the prisoners. He carried a pain stick that could drop a human with one touch. Jake had felt that stick many times when he tried to help sick prisoners work faster. Amy Chun was deeper in the mine, using alien tools to cut crystal formations from the rock walls. The work was dangerous and hard. Many prisoners had died from cave-ins or toxic gas leaks, but Amy was not just working. She was studying every piece of alien technology she could find. The aliens were careless with their equipment. They left broken tools, damaged vehicles, and even computer parts scattered around the mine. Amy collected these pieces when the guards were not looking. At night, in the prisoner barracks, she studied them by the light of small glow rods. "Look at this," Amy whispered to Pete Rodriguez during their rest break. She showed him a small device with strange markings. "This is part of their communication system, but see how it works. It is not as complex as they want us to think." Pete nodded and looked around to make sure no guards were watching. "Their weapons use the same energy. Crystals we dig up. I have been watching how they reload and maintain them. There are patterns we can learn." Lisa Hayes was working in a different part of the mine with the older prisoners. The aliens gave the hardest jobs to the youngest and strongest humans. They put the older ones in easier but more dangerous work, like checking for gas leaks or unstable rock. Lisa knew this was their way of killing the weak prisoners slowly. She had lost 15 people from her group in the last month. Frank Stevens, an old man who used to run the station medical bay, collapsed last week and never got up. The aliens dragged his body away and told the other prisoners to work harder. "We cannot keep going like this," Lisa told Jake when they met in the food line that evening. The alien food was barely enough to keep them alive. It tasted like metal and made many prisoners sick. People are dying every day. We need to do something. Jake looked around the crowded barracks. 62 prisoners had become 43. Disease, accidents, and alien cruelty had killed the rest. The survivors looked like walking skeletons. Their clothes were torn, their skin was burned by the alien suns, and their eyes had lost hope, but Jake noticed something else. The survivors were the smart ones, the fighters, the ones who could adapt. Amy was still building and learning. Pete was still studying weapons. Lisa was still taking care of people. Dr. Karen Wells, who used to be a quantum physics professor, was still asking questions about how things worked. I have an idea, Jake said quietly. But we need to be very careful. The aliens think we are too stupid to be dangerous. We need to keep them thinking that. That night, after the guards locked them in the barracks, Jake called a secret meeting. The prisoners gathered in the darkest corner, away from the alien cameras. Jake spoke in a voice so low they had to lean in close to hear him. Amy has been studying their technology. Dr. Wells understands their power systems. Pete knows their weapons. Lisa knows how to organize people. We have skills they do not know about. What are you saying? Asked Tony Garcia, who used to be a ship engineer, that we can fight back? With what? They have energy shields and plasma weapons. We have our bare hands. Amy pulled out her collection of alien technology pieces. In the dim light, they could see circuit boards, power cells, and mechanical parts. They leave their broken equipment. Everywhere they think we are too primitive to understand it. But I have been learning how it works. Dr. Wells leaned forward to examine the pieces. She was a thin woman with gray hair, but her mind was still sharp. This energy matrix is fascinating. It works on quantum principles that humans have only theorized about. But the basic concepts are not impossible to understand. Even if we understand their technology, how does that help us? Asked Jenny Martinez, who used to pilot cargo ships between colonies. We are locked in cages every night, there are guards everywhere. And even if we could escape this place, where would we go? Jake pointed toward the mine entrance. They have ships here. Transport vessels that bring supplies and take away crystals. The aliens think we are too stupid to fly them, so they do not guard them carefully, and there is something else. He paused and looked at each face in the circle. There is an abandoned ship in the old section of the mine. A heavy cruiser that they were fixing with parts from human ships. They stopped working on it months ago and just left it there. Amy's eyes went wide. A cruiser? What class? What condition? I do not know, Jake admitted, but I know where it is. And I know the guards never go to that section because the air is bad there. Pete spoke up. Even if we could get to this ship? Even if we could fix it, what then? There are hundreds of alien ships in orbit around this planet. They would destroy us before we got a mile from the surface. Maybe, Jake said. Or maybe they would underestimate us again. Maybe they would think it was impossible for primitive humans to threaten their great fleet. Lisa looked at the group of exhausted, half-starved prisoners. It sounds crazy. It sounds like suicide. Everything is suicide now, said Dr. Wells quietly. We die slowly in the mines, or we die quickly trying to escape. But if we escape, maybe we take some of them with us. Amy was already thinking like an engineer. I would need to see this ship. I would need tools, materials, time to study how their systems work. And I would need help from people who understand different technologies. I can help with the power systems, said Tony. And Dr. Wells understands the science better than any of us. I can handle weapons and security, Pete added. If we are going to do this thing, we need to do it right. Jake looked around the circle one more time. This will be dangerous. If they catch us, they will kill us slowly. But if we do nothing, we die anyway, and our deaths will mean nothing. If we try this and succeed, Lisa said, we could warn Earth about the alien threat. We could save other human colonies from what happened to us. The prisoners sat in silence for a long moment, thinking about the impossible plan. Finally, Amy spoke. I want to see this ship. If it is really there, if it can be fixed, then maybe we have a chance. One by one, the others nodded agreement. They were scared, tired, and weak. But they were still human. And humans did not give up easily. Over the next few weeks, they began to prepare. Amy and Tony volunteered for maintenance work that let them explore different parts of the mine. They found the abandoned ship exactly where Jake had said it would. It was damaged but not destroyed. More importantly, it was filled with both alien and human technology. Dr. Wells started teaching the others about quantum physics and energy systems. Pete began training people in basic combat techniques. Lisa organized work schedules and communication systems. And Jake planned every detail of their escape. The aliens never suspected anything. They saw tired humans working in the mines and assumed nothing had changed. They did not know that the humans were studying, learning, and preparing for war. The biggest breakthrough came when Amy figured out how to combine human engineering techniques with alien technology. The aliens built their machines to work in specific ways. But humans were used to making things work even when they were broken or missing parts. We can make their technology do things they never imagined, Amy told the group during another secret meeting. They think in straight lines, we think in circles. That gives us advantages they do not expect. As their plans took shape, the prisoners began to change. They still looked weak and defeated during the day, but at night they were becoming something else. They were becoming dangerous. The abandoned ship sat in the deepest part of the old mine like a sleeping giant. Amy Chin crawled through the maintenance tunnels to reach it, carrying her tools and stolen alien equipment. The air was thick with poisonous gas, but her breathing mask kept her alive. The aliens never came here because they thought the area was too dangerous. Amy climbed into the ship through a hole in the hull. Inside, she found a mixture of human and alien technology that made her heart race with excitement. The aliens had been trying to combine the two systems, but had given up when the project became too difficult. They left behind a half-finished warship that was more powerful than anything either species had built alone. "This is incredible," Amy whispered to herself as she explored the ship's interior. The alien parts were advanced beyond human understanding, but they were connected to human systems she knew well. It was like finding a puzzle with half the pieces already in place. Dr. Karen Wells joined Amy in the ship the next night. As a quantum physicist, she understood the science behind the alien technology better than anyone else. When she saw the ship's power core, her eyes went wide with amazement. They were trying to create a hybrid quantum drive, Dr. Wells explained to Amy. Human engineers are good at making things work together. Alien technology is powerful but rigid. Combined correctly, this could be more dangerous than anything in space. Tony Garcia arrived the following week with Pete Rodriguez. Tony looked at the ship's engines while Pete studied the weapon systems. Both men had the same reaction. This ship could be fixed, and when it was done, it would be deadly. "The engines need work, but the basic structure is sound," Tony reported to Jake during their secret meeting. "Give me 2 months and enough materials, and I can make this thing fly." Pete was more excited about the weapons. They were trying to build a new kind of gun system. It uses human targeting computers with alien energy weapons. "I think I can finish what they started." Jake listened to all the reports and made his decision. "We do it, but we need to be smarter than we have ever been before. One mistake and we all die." The work began in secret. Every night, small groups of prisoners would sneak through the maintenance tunnels to reach the abandoned ship. They worked by the light of stolen glow rods, building and repairing in silence. During the day, they acted like broken prisoners who had given up hope. Amy became the ship's chief engineer. She worked on the hybrid systems that combined human adaptability with alien power. The aliens had tried to force their rigid technology to work with human flexibility. Amy took a different approach. She let the human parts adapt to the alien systems, creating something new. Dr. Wells worked on the ship's power systems. The alien quantum core was incredibly powerful, but it was also unstable. Dr. Wells figured out how to make it more stable by using human safety systems. She also discovered something else. The quantum core could be overloaded to create a massive explosion. If we set the core to overload in a specific way, it creates a chain reaction, Dr. Wells explained to the group. The explosion spreads through quantum fields, affecting any ship using similar technology. You mean we could damage multiple alien ships at once? Jake asked. More than damage, Dr. Wells said quietly. If I am right about the quantum cascade effect, we could destroy entire fleets. Tony worked on the engines and flight systems. The alien technology was faster than anything humans had built, but it was also more complex. Tony simplified some systems and improved others. He created a hybrid drive that was both fast and reliable. Pete focused on the weapons and defenses. The alien weapons were powerful, but they fired in predictable patterns. Pete modified them to fire in human tactical patterns, making them much more effective in combat. He also improved the targeting systems using human military software. Jenny. Martinez studied the ship's navigation and pilot controls. As an experienced pilot, she understood how to make the complex systems work together. She practiced flying the ship using simulation programs that Tony built from salvaged computers. Lisa. Hayes planned the escape itself. She studied the alien guard rotations, the mine security systems, and the orbital defense patterns. Lisa found weaknesses in the alien security that could be exploited during their escape. The work was slow and dangerous. They had to steal materials from the mine without being caught. They had to work in areas filled with poisonous gas and unstable rock. Several times, they almost got discovered by alien patrols, but the humans had advantages the aliens did not expect. They were used to working with limited resources. They were good at improvising solutions when equipment broke. And they were fighting for their lives, which made them more motivated than their captors. After 2 months of secret work, the ship was ready. Amy had created hybrid systems that were more powerful than either human or alien technology alone. Dr. Wells had turned the power core into a potential weapon of mass destruction. Tony had built engines that could outrun most alien ships. Pete had armed the ship with weapons that could punch through alien shields, but they still faced a huge problem. The alien Third Fleet had over 200 ships orbiting the planet. Even with their improved ship, the humans would be outnumbered hundreds to one. We need to be smart about this, Jake told the group during their final planning meeting. We cannot fight them all at once. We need to use their own confidence against them. Amy had been thinking about the same problem. They think we are primitive. They think human technology is weak. When they see us flying one of their ships, they will not believe we are dangerous. That gives us maybe one free attack, Pete said. After that, they will know we are a threat. Dr. Wells spoke up. Maybe one attack is all we need. If the quantum cascade effect works the way I think it will, one overloaded core could start a chain reaction that destroys their entire fleet. Lisa looked skeptical. You think they will let us get close enough to do that? They might, Jake said slowly. If they think we are just escaped prisoners in a stolen ship, if they think we are trying to run away instead of fight. Jenny had been studying the alien fleet positions. Their command ship is in the center of the formation. If we could reach it, if we could trigger the cascade effect there, the reaction would spread to all the ships around it. The plan was insane, but it was their only chance. They would launch the ship during the shift change when the guards were distracted. They would fly toward the alien fleet as if trying to escape the system. When the aliens moved to capture them, they would turn and attack the command ship with everything they had. If this works, we save ourselves and warn Earth about the alien threat, Jake said. If it fails, we die fighting instead of dying as slaves. The night before the escape, the prisoners gathered one last time in the abandoned ship. They had transformed the broken hulk into a weapon that could challenge an empire. But more than that, they had transformed themselves from defeated captives into dangerous enemies. Amy looked around at her fellow humans. They were still thin and scarred from months of imprisonment, but their eyes burned with determination and hope. They had been called primitive and weak. Tomorrow, they would show the aliens how wrong they were. We named this ship the HNS Retribution, Jake announced. For all the humans who died in the mines. For all the colonies the aliens destroyed. For everyone who needs to know that humanity will never surrender. The prisoners spent their last night as captives preparing for battle. They loaded weapons, checked systems, and ran through their escape plan one more time. By dawn, they would either be free or dead. As the alien suns rose over the prison world, the humans made their final preparations. They had spent months learning alien technology, understanding alien weaknesses, and planning the perfect attack. The aliens still thought they were harmless slaves. The aliens were about to learn the most important lesson in the galaxy: never underestimate humanity. The explosion in the main mine shaft shook the entire prison complex. Lisa Hayes had set off stolen mining charges in 3 different locations, creating chaos and confusion among the alien guards. Alarms blared across the facility as smoke poured from the mine entrances. "All prisoners to emergency stations!" shouted the alien guards in their harsh language. They rushed toward the explosions, thinking the humans were trapped in a mining accident. This was exactly what Jake Morrison had planned. While the guards were distracted, Jake led a small team through the maintenance tunnels toward the abandoned ship. Amy Chen was already there, making final preparations to the HNS Retribution. The ship hummed with power as its hybrid systems came online for the first time. "All systems are ready," Amy reported as Jake climbed into the command center. "The quantum core is stable, weapons are charged, and the engines are responding perfectly." Jenny Martinez slid into the pilot seat and began the startup sequence. Her hands moved quickly over the controls, activating systems that combined human intuition with alien technology. The ship lifted off the ground smoothly, rising through the old mine shaft toward the surface. Tony Garcia monitored the engines from the engineering station. "Power output is higher than expected," he reported with excitement. "The hybrid drive is working better than we hoped. We have speed and maneuverability that no pure alien ship can match." Pete Rodriguez was at the weapons console, watching as the ship's modified gun systems came online. Targeting computers are active. Quantum cascade weapons are ready to fire. We have enough firepower to crack a moon. Dr. Karen Wells sat at the science station, monitoring the quantum core that would be their ultimate weapon. "Core stability is good. When we are ready, I can trigger the cascade overload. But remember, once I start the sequence, we will have less than 10 minutes before the ship explodes." The HNS Retribution burst from the planet's surface into open space. Behind them, the prison facility was still in chaos as alien guards searched for the source of the explosions. Ahead of them, the Third Fleet of the Zephyrian Empire hung in space like a wall of death. Admiral Kethfer was in his command center aboard the flagship Eternal Dominion when his officers reported the human escape. The Admiral looked at the display screen showing the small ship rising from the planet and laughed. "Humans flying one of our ships? Impossible. They do not have the intelligence to operate our technology." "Sir, the ship is moving toward our fleet," reported his tactical officer. "Should we destroy it?" Admiral Kethfer waved his hand dismissively. "Send a squadron to capture it? I want to see these primitive creatures who think they can steal from the Empire." 12 alien fighters detached from the main fleet and moved to intercept the human ship. Their pilots were confident and relaxed. They were hunting escaped slaves, not fighting a real enemy. Jenny Martinez saw the alien fighters approaching on her screen. 12 ships coming fast. "They are not using attack formation. They think this will be easy." "Let them keep thinking that," Jake said calmly. "Pete, are you ready?" Pete's hands hovered over the weapons controls. "Just give me the word, Captain." The alien fighters spread out in a capture formation, planning to surround the human ship and force it to surrender. They powered up their tractor beams but kept their weapons on low settings. They wanted to take the humans alive for interrogation and punishment. "Now," Jake said quietly. Pete fired everything at once. The modified weapon systems unleashed a barrage of energy that no alien pilot expected. The quantum cascade beams tore through the first line of fighters like they were made of paper. The alien ships did not just explode. They dissolved into clouds of glowing particles. The remaining fighters tried to scatter, but Jenny Martinez was already moving. She spun the HNS Retribution through a series of turns that human pilots called the death spiral. The alien fighters could not match her maneuvers because their ships were designed for straight-line attacks. Pete destroyed 3 more fighters with precise shots from the ship's secondary weapons. Amy had modified these guns to fire in patterns that confused alien targeting computers. The alien pilots found themselves shooting at empty space while human weapons found their mark every time within 2 minutes. All 12 alien fighters were gone. The HNS Retribution hung in space, surrounded by expanding clouds of debris and energy. Admiral Kethver stared at his display screen in shock. "Impossible," he whispered. "No human ship has that much firepower." "Sir, the vessel is definitely of human origin," his science officer reported. "But the weapon signatures are unlike anything we have seen before." Admiral Kethver's shock turned to rage. "They dare to use our own technology against us? Destroy them immediately. Send 50 ships. No, send 100. I want nothing left of them but atoms." But the HNS Retribution was not running away. Instead, it was flying directly toward the alien fleet. Jake Morrison stood on the command deck, watching the massive enemy ships growing larger on the screen. "They are sending everything they have," Jenny reported from the pilot station. 120 ships coming our way. This is going to be the biggest space battle in human history." "Good," Jake said grimly. "Dr. Wells, how long do you need?" "To prepare the cascade overload?" 5 minutes to reach the optimal position," Dr. Wells replied. "Another 3 minutes to set up the quantum cascade. Then we have about 2 minutes before the core explodes." Amy was working frantically at her engineering station. "I am rerouting all power to weapons and shields. We will have maximum firepower. But if anything hits us, we are done." The alien fleet formed a massive wall of ships between the humans and their flagship. Energy weapons began firing from dozens of vessels, filling space with deadly beams of light. Jenny Martinez flew through the barrage like she was dancing, dodging blasts that could have vaporized entire cities. Pete returned fire with everything the ship had. The modified weapons were devastating against alien shields. Each shot punched through defenses that were supposed to be impenetrable. Alien ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light, but more kept coming. "Their shields are not designed to handle our hybrid weapons," Pete shouted over the noise of battle. "But there are too many of them. We cannot destroy them all before. They overwhelm us." Tony was pushing the engines beyond their design limits. "Hull temperature is rising. The hybrid drive is working perfectly, but we are taking damage from near misses. I do not know how long we can keep this up." Jake made his decision. "Jenny, take us straight through their formation. Head for the flagship. Dr. Wells, start the cascade sequence." The HNS Retribution accelerated toward the center of the alien fleet like a spear thrown by an angry god. Alien ships fired everything they had at the small human vessel, but Jenny Martinez was flying like no human had ever flown before. She used the ship's hybrid systems to make turns and accelerations that should have been impossible. Dr. Wells began the quantum cascade sequence. Deep in the ship's core, the alien power source started to change. Energy patterns shifted into configurations that the original builders had never imagined. The cascade effect was building, creating quantum instabilities that would spread through space like ripples in a pond. "Cascade sequence initiated," Dr. Wells announced. 7 minutes until overload. The effect will target any ship using similar quantum technology within a 50-kilometer radius. Admiral Kethver watched the human ship carving through his fleet like it was unstoppable. His best pilots were dying, his strongest ships were being destroyed, and somehow a single vessel crewed by primitive humans was winning. "All ships focus fire on that vessel," he commanded. "I do not care what it costs. Destroy it now." The entire alien fleet turned their weapons on the HNS Retribution. Space around the ship became a storm of energy beams and explosive projectiles. But the human ship kept coming, protected by shields that adapted to each attack and powered by determination that the aliens could not understand. Shield strength at 30%, Amy reported. We cannot take much more of this. Weapons. Overheating, Pete added. But I'm still getting good hits on their big ships. 5 minutes to cascade overload, Dr. Wells announced. We need to get closer to their flagship. Jenny Martinez saw the Eternal Dominion ahead of them, a massive ship larger than a human city. It was the heart of the alien fleet, the symbol of their power, and it was about to become the center of the largest explosion in galactic history. Hold on, everyone, Jenny said as she aimed the ship at the alien flagship. This is going to be a rough ride. The HMS Retribution flew through the final wall of alien defenders and approached the Eternal Dominion. Admiral Kethver could see the human ship on his main screen, battered and smoking, but still fighting. How is this possible? He demanded. They are just humans. They should not be able to do this, but the humans were doing it. They had taken alien technology and made it better. They had turned a broken ship into a weapon of vengeance. And now they were about to show the Zephyrian Empire what happened when you underestimated humanity. 3 minutes to cascade overload, Dr. Wells announced. Everyone hold on. This is going to be spectacular. The HMS Retribution flew straight at the massive alien flagship like a bullet aimed at the heart of the enemy fleet. Around them, space burned with the light of 1,000 weapons as the entire Zephyrian Third Fleet tried to stop the single human ship. 2 minutes to cascade overload, Dr. Karen Wells announced from her science station. Her voice was calm, but everyone could hear the excitement underneath. They were about to unleash a weapon that would change the balance of power in the galaxy. Forever. Admiral Kethver stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, watching the human ship approach through the storm of weapons fire. His massive flagship was 10 times larger than the human vessel, armed with enough firepower to destroy planets. But somehow the small ship kept coming. Sir, the human vessel is on a collision course, his tactical officer reported. At their current speed, they will impact our hull in 90 seconds. Then destroy them, Admiral Kethver snarled. Fire everything. Turn them into dust. The flagship's main guns opened fire, sending beams of pure energy that could melt asteroids. But Jenny Martinez was ready for them. She threw the HMS Retribution into a spinning dive that carried them under the massive weapon blasts. The ship's hybrid engines screamed with power as they accelerated toward their target. Hull integrity at 15%, Amy Chun reported. From her engineering station, we have taken too much damage. The ship will not survive much more. It does not need to, Jake Morrison replied grimly. We just need 60 more seconds. Pete Rodriguez was still firing the ship's weapons, targeting the alien flagship's weapon systems. Each hit from their modified guns sent explosions rippling across the enemy ship's hull. The aliens had never faced weapons that combined human tactics with their own technology. Their shields are failing, Pete shouted over the noise of battle. The quantum cascade weapons are overloading their defensive systems. Tony Garcia was pushing the engines beyond any safe limit. Warning lights flashed red across his console as the hybrid drive systems reached critical temperatures. Engines at 120% power. We cannot maintain this speed much longer. 1 minute to cascade overload, Dr. Wells announced. The quantum core deep in the ship was building toward an explosion that would tear holes in space. Itself, the cascade effect is already beginning. I can detect quantum instability spreading through the local area. Jenny Martinez aimed the ship at the center of the alien flagship. She could see alien crew members through the transparent sections of their bridge. They looked terrified, which was exactly how she wanted them to feel. 30 seconds to impact. Jenny called out, Everyone hold on. Admiral Kethver realized what the humans were planning. They mean to ram us, he said in disbelief. They are going to crash their ship into ours. Sir, should we evacuate the bridge? Asked his first officer. No, Admiral Kethver said firmly. We are Zephyrians, we do not run from primitive humans. But these were not primitive humans anymore. These were humans who had learned alien technology and made it better. These were humans who had been pushed too far and were now pushing back. Cascade overload in 10 seconds, Dr. Wells announced. The quantum field is becoming unstable. The explosion will propagate through quantum space, affecting every ship. Using similar technology. Jake Morrison looked around at his crew one last time. Amy Chen was still working at her engineering station, making final adjustments to maximize the explosion. Pete Rodriguez was firing the weapons until the very last second, doing as much damage as possible. Tony Garcia was keeping the engines running despite the incredible stress. Jenny Martinez was flying the ship with skill that would be remembered forever. Dr. Wells was calmly monitoring the weapon that would destroy an entire fleet. "It has been an honor serving with you all," Jake said quietly. "The honor was ours, Captain," Amy replied. And the others nodded agreement. The HNS Retribution struck the Eternal Dominion at full speed. The impact sent shockwaves through both ships. But that was nothing compared to what happened next. Dr. Wells triggered the final cascade sequence. The quantum core exploded in a flash of light brighter than a star. But this was not a normal explosion. The cascade effect spread through quantum space, seeking out similar energy patterns in nearby ships. Within seconds, the quantum fields of every alien vessel in the fleet began to destabilize. The alien ships did not just explode. They dissolved. The cascade effect tore apart the quantum bonds that held their matter together. Hulls, weapons, engines, and crew all broke down into their basic particles. 200 alien warships became clouds of glowing ash that spread across space like fog. Admiral Kethver had just enough time to understand what was happening before his flagship joined the destruction. The most powerful fleet in Zephyrian space was gone in less than 10 seconds, reduced to atomic particles. By a weapon created from their own technology, the explosion was visible from the planet's surface. The alien guards at the prison facility looked up to see their entire fleet disappearing in a brilliant flash of light. For the first time in their lives, the Zephyrians felt fear, but the HNS Retribution was gone too. The brave humans who had sacrificed everything to strike back at their oppressors had died in the explosion. Or so it seemed. Deep in space, a small escape pod drifted among the clouds of alien ash. Amy Chun had designed it during the final weeks of preparation, using hybrid technology to create a survival craft that could protect a few people from the cascade explosion. Jake Morrison opened his eyes and looked around the cramped pod. Amy, Pete, Jenny, Tony, Lisa, and Dr. Wells were all there, unconscious but alive. They had survived the impossible. "Status report," Jake said weakly. Amy checked the pod systems. "Life support is stable. Communication systems are working. We have enough power and supplies for 3 weeks." Pete looked out the small window at the glowing clouds that had been an alien fleet. "Did we really do that? Did we destroy their entire fleet?" "We did more than that," Dr. Wells said softly. "We proved that humans are not primitive. We proved that we are dangerous when pushed too far." Jenny was already working on the navigation system. "I am sending a message to Earth, wide broadcast on all human frequencies. They need to know about the alien threat, and they need to know that we won." The message that went out across human space was simple but powerful. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human vessel Retribution. We were captured by an alien empire that thought we were primitive slaves. They were wrong. We have destroyed their third fleet and escaped their prison world. Humanity is at war, but humanity can win. We are coming home." The response was immediate. Human ships from across the sector began moving toward their location. The alien empire had made a terrible mistake by underestimating humanity, and now they would face the consequences. As they waited for rescue, the survivors looked out at the battlefield they had created. Where once a mighty alien fleet had ruled space, now there was only drifting ash. The Zephyrians had called them prisoners, treated them like animals, and expected them to die quietly in the mines. Instead, the humans had built a weapon from alien technology and used it to incinerate an entire fleet. They had turned their captivity into the greatest military victory in human history. What happens now? Lisa asked. Jake looked at the message responses coming in from human colonies across the galaxy. Battle fleets were being assembled. The best human scientists and engineers were studying their reports about alien technology. Humanity was preparing for war. "Now we go home," Jake said. "And we teach the galaxy that humans are not prey. We are predators." The escape pod continued its journey through space, carrying 7 humans who had changed the course of galactic history. Behind them, the clouds of alien ash began to cool and fade. Ahead of them, humanity was awakening to its true potential. The Zephyrian Empire had thought humans were weak. They had thought human technology was primitive. They had thought human spirit could be broken. They had been wrong about everything. Across the galaxy, other alien empires received reports of the Third Fleet's destruction. A single human ship had destroyed 200 alien vessels. Primitive humans had turned Zephyrian technology against itself with devastating results. The message was clear: humanity was no longer just another species to be conquered. Humanity was now a threat that demanded respect. And in the escape pod drifting through space, 7 humans smiled as they realized they had just announced humanity's arrival on the galactic stage in the most dramatic way possible. They had been called prisoners, but they had become something much more dangerous. They had become humanity's first victory in a war that would reshape the galaxy forever.